A professor receives thousands of dollars for sexploration. Universities across the United States double down on masking and vaccines. And the staggering price tag of the COVID-era loan repayment freeze is finally revealed. I'm Wyatt Eichholz, and you're watching Campus Countdown. For this week's story number 3, an assistant professor was awarded nearly $500,000 for a sexploration project. An associate professor at Virginia Commonwealth University received a grant worth $463,000 to study LGBTQ sexual health as part of an initiative dubbed the Sexploration Project. The study is being funded by the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation as part of its Pioneering Ideas project to explore the future to build a culture of health. Over the course of the study, Dr. B. Ethan Costin, a white, neuroqueer, trans, cripple punk, sociologically trained activist scholar, according to her bio, plans to document the sexual experiences, desires, fantasies, and behaviors of LGBTQ individuals, as well as their interpersonal relationships and patient-provider interactions. On her website, Costin said that the research aims to radically shift individuals' internalized shame about sex, empower people to explore the types of sexual relationships they want and need, and inform meaningful policy change on sexual reproductive health, healthcare, education, and rights. But now I'll hand it off to Campus Reform Correspondent William Biagini for story number 2.
Thanks, Wyatt. Glad to be on the show. For this week's number 2 story on Campus Countdown, we have a roundup of multiple universities that have recently reinstituted mask-wearing policies regardless of vaccination state. 2 of these universities are actively enforcing mask mandates, while one Texas professor is offering extra credit to students if they wear masks in the classroom. The first of these universities is Hudson Valley Community College. Originally, the university refused to comply with the SUNY policy for mandatory vaccination for in-person students, but altered course and reinstituted mandatory mask wearing for this fall semester, stating, quote, "Permitting vaccination to be optional for in-person students is not feasible at this time." Our second university is San Diego State University, which has also implemented a masking policy of its own that will last until September 15th. However, this is in direct defiance of CDC recommendations for the county, which state the COVID-19 community spread level as medium. Furthermore, SDSU President Adela de la Torre exempts instructional faculty, TAs, and interpreters from the mandate, provided that they are fully up to date on vaccinations and all students in the classroom are masked. Finally, Dr. Drew Morton of Texas A&M University is offering students 15% extra credit if every member of the class wears a mask during the entire lecture period. This includes keeping the mask on while talking. However, as Campus Reform reported, this addition to the American Film History syllabus seems inconsistent with the university's official COVID-19 prevention policy, which only encourages mask wearing and frequent hand washing. Interestingly enough, none of these universities responded to Campus Reform's attempts for contact. Back to you, Wyatt.
Thanks for breaking all of that down, William. With the number 1 story this week, student loan freeze cost the federal government $197 billion, a new report finds. Last month, the Biden administration took the unprecedented step of forgiving thousands of dollars of student loan debt for nearly every borrower, leaving taxpayers on the hook for over $500 billion. But don't let that distract you from the nearly $200 billion additional dollars that the federal government will lose due to the repayment freeze that has been in effect since the beginning of the pandemic, according to estimates from the Government Accountability Office. Just putting the payments on hold caused a net loss for the United States government due to factors like rising inflation rates, changing income levels, and inconsistent payment schedules, according to the report cited by the GAO. Now that billions of dollars in student debt will be forgiven, those costs are going to rise even higher. That's it for this week's top 3 stories. But before we wrap up, it's time for the woke tweet of the week. Nina Turner, a senior fellow at the New School Institute on Race, Power, and Political Economy in New York City, wrote last month, canceling $10,000 in student debt while the average white borrower is $12,000 in debt, while black women hold on average $52,000, isn't just unacceptable, it's structural racism. In a similar tweet, NAACP President Derek Johnson said that the forgiveness plan left black people, especially black women, behind. These tweets perfectly exemplify the difference between equality of opportunity and equality of outcome. It doesn't even matter to progressives, like Nina Turner, that everyone with debt is getting a free $10,000 credited to their account, no matter their race or sex. No, unless every demographic group arrives at the exact same net worth, the left will accuse the entire system of being structurally racist. Now, I find it interesting that at the same time, the White House tried to take credit for making an impact towards eliminating the racial wealth gap with this policy. So, which is it? Is the Biden administration racist, woke, or just going broke, and all of us at the same time? It's also important to note that the analysis from Turner and Johnson provides really no discussion about any other variables except debt and race. Now, the fundamentals of statistical analysis require that you control for the impact of other variables before you arrive at your conclusions. And there's also an understanding that just finding an example of correlation is not the same thing as proving the amount of causation. But these details get thrown to the wind because they're a bit of an obstacle towards making a politically inflammatory accusation, so progressives choose to ignore them. That's all for this week's edition of Campus Countdown. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. To stay up to date on more leftist bias on campus, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Campus Reform. I'm Wyatt Eichholz. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to check in next week to Campus Countdown.